Please join me in welcoming our new head coach, Jason Kreis.
Welcome to Orlando, Jason. Can you give us your opening thoughts?
We had a candidate list of around 7 candidates. We interviewed all 7. Jason, of course, was on that list, and very quickly came to the forefront and the top of the list. So, 3 of the several criteria that we had, and I'm delighted to say, as I said in the press release, that Jason ticks all those boxes. We've got an experienced coach who knows how to win in MLS, who's won an MLS Cup and been to the final in the second one, and actually led Real Salt Lake to become the first American team to ever get to a Champions League final. All in all, a great track record. He's a young, ambitious coach that fits with our MO as an organization, and we're delighted to have him and delighted to introduce him to you today. Please join me in welcoming our new head coach, Jason Kreis.
Obviously, I couldn't be more happy or excited at this moment. I would like to start off by giving thanks to all of the people who have been involved in this whirlwind of a process. First, I'd like to thank Phil and Kay Rollins for being so welcoming to my wife and I about 10 days ago when we visited here, showing us all the great things about Orlando as a city and about Orlando City Soccer Club as a club. Next, I'd like to thank Flavio Augusto da Silva for having me over and hosting me over in Lisbon. At a very short notice, he opened his arms to me and demonstrated clearly the support that he intends to give me. Next, to the other members of the board of directors here, John Bonner and Alex Letayo, for backing the decision and supporting the entire process the entire time. When I came to Orlando in March 2015 for the first ever MLS game here, I could easily see that this club in this city was going to be something truly special. Orlando City Soccer Club has a local, supportive, and involved ownership group with a clear vision and a clear plan. The team has some very good veteran players who should be able to provide a solid leadership role, as well as quite a few extremely exciting younger players with huge potential for growth. The club has a soccer-specific grass field stadium set to open next year. The club has a fully functioning top-to-bottom youth academy to work with and integrate, and a locally based reserve team playing the USL to utilize for final stages of player development. The club has a first-class training facility to house and train all of these teams under one roof and in one location planned to open in 2017. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, the club has terrific, second to none fan support and incredibly high relevancy in the community here. Orlando City Soccer Club will be, for me, the ideal Major League Soccer club scenario on literally every front. I could not be more happy or honored to be entrusted with the ownership's vision for this club and to be given this great opportunity to bring these incredible fans here in Florida what it seems you so eagerly crave and richly deserve. This will not be easy, and it most likely will not happen overnight. We will need your continued support and belief, and in return, we can promise you one thing. We will give all of ourselves to you and for you all of the time.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, when I left the job in New York City, there was going to be some months and some time for me to to have some retrospect about that situation, and I think to really look at it and learn some things about myself. And so early on in that process, there was a club or two that was interested, but I don't think I was ready. And I looked at it in my mind and thought about it in my mind and said, really, probably the earliest that I would be ready to take on another challenge like this would be in the summer. And another thing that was in my mind was that it might be a really good opportunity to take over a club in the summer so that you could have a chance to work with the players and truly understand who you're working with. Not just the players, but the character of the people involved. And to be able to spend that time to evaluate, as well as competing for something, to have those pressures and be working with players, to evaluate them going into an off-season, to know what kind of changes need to be made for long-term success in this club. Orlando City in particular, as I alluded to in the speech, was interesting for me because I kept looking at the club through the season last year and saying, you know, they have some really, really exciting young players. And they have an incredible fan base, and they've got this amazing stadium coming on board. But the one piece that was always out there was, I don't know what the management and what the ownership looks like. And so to be called by Phil about 10 days ago and to come here and meet him and Kay that very first day, it was like, you know what, they're going to check every box. And I just felt like as I continued to think about it and do the research, the club has literally checked every box for me about what I wanted in the next MLS club. And to be frank and honest, I probably shouldn't tell Phil this now, I guess it's probably okay to tell him now. After the dinner that we had with him and his wife that night, my wife said, we need to go to Orlando. Part of the process, I think rather astutely, Phil asked me to do an evaluation of the club. And in doing that, we went back and looked at the last 9 matches. Scouted those matches in a very detailed fashion. Obviously, we have some knowledge about the group going back into last year as well. And so the evaluation basically was this. There are some pieces here that are incredibly exciting to build around. There are some leaders in this group that should be able to be the backbone of the club. And so it's an exciting prospect that I think as we look towards the future, I believe that we will be able to help turn this club into a consistently successful and a consistently competing club for winning things in championships. But I do not, and I want to be clear about this, I do not think that has to happen overnight. The most immediate priority for me is an off-the-pitch issue. The most immediate priority to me is to get with the team tomorrow morning to dictate to them, to try to spell out clearly to them, this is our vision for the club going forward. And this is what it's going to mean to be an Orlando City Soccer Club member, and ask the players if that's what they want. Because I do think that the most successful clubs in this league have demonstrated to the players that if you want to be here, it requires a certain amount of commitment and sacrifice. And if you do not want to be here, we need to learn that quickly and move you on. We need people that want to be here, that believe in what we believe in, and that are going to be willing to give everything they can for that vision. And that will also then further go into meetings with staff and meetings with individual players. I need to understand people from a people side of things. And then obviously a ton of work to be done around on the pitch. So we're operating really on 2 fronts. Front one is how do we adjust what's here already and what's working here? Because we want to do that in order to give ourselves the best possible chance to make the playoffs. I do not think that coming in and blowing up everything that's been done here and changing it just because that's the way I want it, I don't see that as being successful. The second front is to have a little bit more of a longer term vision of who are the most important players on this team, what is the core of the group from a leadership perspective, and how do we build around that core to gain long-term success. And we will let that core, the qualities of that core, dictate the tactics. Yeah, I draw on it a lot. I mean, I had a lot of experiences as a player in this league in particular my entire career. And so, you know, most of my experience tells me that all these guys ought to be real grateful right now where they're at. And to be able to play in a stadium like they're going to play in next year is just unbelievable, almost unfathomable to a guy like me. But continue to draw on those experiences know how difficult it was to be a player, know what it felt like to be talked to a certain way. And I think the most important thing is that players crave honesty. And I'm nothing if I'm not an honest person. Can I ask a color question to you back first?
Yeah.
Did you see that as positive or negative?
A little bit of both.
I'm pretty serious. And I would say serious is maybe not the right word. I'm very passionate about what I do. And I expect and demand the same thing for the players in a particular time. The time to be passionate and serious and get your work done is when we're on the training facility. You know, when we're at the training facility, when we're on the training field. Outside of that, I like to have a good time. I like to try to create an environment where players can feel comfortable and enjoy themselves. Ultimately, I think those things have to go hand in hand.